Hello and welcome to Knit, Sip, Happy. My name is Nancy and I'm coming to you today from Moncton, New Brunswick on the east coast of Canada. It is a glorious day. It is the first time I'm trying an outdoor podcast. I'm alone. We may hear some ambient noise. Hopefully the wind isn't too... I've done a couple of tests and everything seems fine. So we are going for it in my screen room, my outdoor living room in the backyard with loads of wash on the line behind us and a little bit of woods and trees and nice green, but that is our backdrop today. Welcome. Thanks for being here. It's a glorious day here. I'm looking at blue skies and puffy white clouds. We've had some gross, humid, hot weather and that humidity has broken. So I'm taking every opportunity that is available to me to be outside, which is why we are here today with the load of my wash in the back. Laundry update, my washing machine blew up this morning. So I was going to record this morning, but we had to run into town and try and find a new washing machine. We have found one. My husband has gone to pick it up now, which is why I have this lovely unexpected hour or so of quiet. He's taken the gentleman who lives next door to help him, which means I also won't get any mechanical man noise coming from that side either. So we should be good to go. All right, I'm going to put where you can find me on the screen. I am Knit Sip Happy everywhere, but all of the links will also be down below. Just clickable links to my Instagram, Ravelry, Facebook, email, and I will also be linking all of my Ravelry project pages. If you have any questions about any of the projects that I don't address in my project page, please contact me any of those ways and I will happily give you that information and make sure my Ravelry page is updated. Okay, so I'm feeling discombobulated, I apologize. Let's try that again. I am going to do FOs, whips, a little design chat, just some general chit chat. Everything will have chapters down below. If there's a section that you want to skip, you can certainly feel free to do that. And I have to be honest, this is the second time I'm recording. I recorded this yesterday. I had a lovely day out yesterday and came home and was feeling all inspired and sat down and recorded, and I felt rushed and was tripping over my words, and then I had the hot flash of all hot flashes and ended up breaking up into huge red-faced, sweaty, gross. I looked at it after I finished and thought, I can't put that out. So here I am again with the same wine. What I'm drinking, this is a lovely rosé, a Sangiovese Rose from Washington State. Sangiovese is the grapes in Chianti, so this is just a nice light, quite strawberry notes on the palate, and delightful on this beautiful last day of July. It's July 31st. So I'll talk about more about my day out yesterday. I'm looking down at my notes. I also am going to have a giftaway later on in the podcast for the Lotus Lake tea that I was wearing last episode. So we'll talk about that later as well. But first things first, what I'm wearing and also my first FO. This is my third episode in a row, I think. I'm wearing a new garment. Gotta love a summer tee at a loose gauge. They're easy to knit and fast to knit for me anyway. So this is the Cloudsley. Because of my setup out here today, I have pre-recorded a little video that I'm going to put, I don't know which side, of me twirling and showing you the different features. So I'm just going to kind of go through that as we're talking. So I knit the size 3, but I was off gauge. My gauge was 22 stitches over 4 inches. I knit this out of Knitting for Olive pure silk. I have a little nugget. I had a little nugget left. That was all that was left out of 4 balls, so 200 grams. The color is actually showing up much better. Yesterday with the artificial light, it was really neon pink, and it is a bright, it's a fuchsia pink is the colorway, but it's this color representation is really quite good. So this is a design from Isabel Kramer called Cloudsley. V-neck, quite a shallow V-neck. Short sleeved, there is an option to do long sleeves in the pattern as well. I have done my A-line increases. After you split for the sleeves, Isabel Kramer has a purl detail running down each side of the body. So on each side of that purl detail, I have put on make one right, make one left, every inch to give me my A-line shaping. You'll be seeing that or have seen that in the video already. I also did 4 extra raglan increases for my sleeve because I had to size down to size 3, which was I think 2 sizes smaller than I should have made. I knew I wasn't going to have enough sleeves for stitches for my arms, so I needed to have some extra increases there. So I did 4 extra raglan increases there after I finished the ones for the body. And you're supposed to go down a needle size for all of the hems. I did it on the neckline. I probably didn't need to. This is feeling a little snug. Part of me thinks I'm going to go ahead and pull that out and redo it. Reality is I'm probably not. So I've got a quite shallow V here. I went down a needle size for this finish, but the finish on the sleeves and the bottom of the band on the bottom of the body, I did not, because I wanted to make sure I had that stretch to give me that A-line shaping. If I think about it, I'll also put a picture up of the sweater blocking. I used my blocking wires and again kind of pulled it out, kind of pyramid shape to give me that A-line shaping. And I'm looking at myself, trying to make sure I'm not squinting in the sun, and so that must mean I deserve a drink of wine, right? Look at the camera, not the screen. This is episode 22 and I'm still doing the same thing I've done in the first episode. I don't know if that's ever going to change. I'm just here chatting with my friends and maybe not being the best professional podcaster. All right, Cloudsley. Was there anything else I needed to say? I love it. I love the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I would definitely work with it again. I'm curious to see how it's going to wear. I wore it out in the world today for the first time, and it's lovely and light and drapey and airy. So this will be a staple in my wardrobe for sure, and I think he'll be coming to England with me to be a staple t-shirt for me when I'm over there. So that is all I have to say. I'm just looking down at my notes, sorry. That's all I have to say about Cloudsley, and let's move on. The other FOs are all socks. A quick dive into life. I ended up having to work a whole bunch of extra shifts over the last week and a half to cover off an employee who unexpectedly needed to go away, and that was just fine. Happy to do it, but it did cut down my knitting time quite a bit. So I focused mostly on small projects. This was pretty much already done. I just had to kind of do bind offs, but let's move on and stop the jibber jabber. So I'm going to go through these first 2 quite quickly. These are the gift socks in the Lang Super Socks. I've showed you these. I think you've seen these 2 or 3 times. I had done a little bit of a texture pattern that you can't really see. It was mostly for my enjoyment, to stop me from getting bored to tears as I'm knitting these socks. These are a 72 stitch sock with a very short foot for my son's partner. She has small feet. So those are done. I'm ready to go into the gift basket. The other pair that you have seen before is my my not so Swiss dot shorties. This is from my Swiss dot shorty pattern. I just made them a full size sock. This is using knit picks, leftovers from various projects, and yeah, I think they worked out really well as a long sock as well. As I've mentioned before, I love to use commercial yarn for gift socks, so they can put it in the washer and the dryer and they're going to wear super well. So these will also be going in the gift bin for Christmas for a friend. And this is a 56 stitch sock. So those are 2 finished objects you've seen before. I have a new finished object that you've never even seen. I had posted a picture on Instagram. I'll put it here. Ruth from Ruth Loves to Knit is running I'm doing this again, I'm trying to get closer, I need to sit back. Dust 'em Off Mal, using patterns from books or your Ravelry library, and I actually am double second guessing myself now because I did it out of 52 Weeks of Socks, Volume 2, that did arrive this year in 2023, so that may not it may not actually comply with the rules. But I hadn't knit anything out of the 52 Weeks of Socks book, volume 2, yet, and wanted to. I had this yarn combination picked out to do some scrappy shorties, the leftover from my ravishing socks, and I just had a scrap. And I was going to knit a pair of Swiss dot shorties just to use up. I'm really loving using my leftovers right now. I've got so many beautiful bits, as Jules from So Sweet Violet calls them, from previous projects, that there's still lots of yarn left and they'd be great to use in other things. So there's more of that coming, this theme. But back to these socks. Aren't they great? So these are the Gussets socks. I forget who the designer is. I'm so sorry. I'll put it on the screen here. And the original picture from the book. I have two, but I have a story, and you can probably see maybe what that story is. So I had this ravishing yarn and just a scrap of, I think it's Wool Barn something, but I can't remember what the color is. This is all I have left. And I wanted to do these as shorties because my husband likes the air conditioning quite cold, and I find we have hardwood floors, and I find my feet get cold. So I just like to have little shorty slippers or shorty socks to throw on my feet when he has the air conditioning set to Baltic. And I thought this would be fun made into a shorty. So I'm knitting up, it's a toe up design. I did my own rounded toe that I prefer to bring it up to the stitch count, which is slightly different. It was a 66 stitch count. And then it's this fun slip stitch mosaic pattern that looks like waffles, and that's what Gussets is waffles. So once I turned, it has, you do the heel flap increases here, and then a heel turn, and then you're doing your decreases, all the while keeping that pattern in place. It's very clever, and it was really easy to do. The instructions were great. I really enjoyed the knit. It was quite addictive. I knit these very quickly because the color work mosaic, the using the two colors, seeing the pattern, it's a quick 4 to 8 round repeat. Yeah, loved knitting them. I got to this point once I've increased out and looked at what I had left in my ravish yarn from Ginger Snap and realized I had a problem. I hadn't, a silly, stupid, my own fault problem. I had not weighed the yarn is ravishing, my sock pattern is ravishing. I hadn't weighed the main color yarn before I started knitting. I just cast on with reckless abandon because I was super excited to do it, and I thought it was going to be a fun knit, and it was. But once I got to this part on the first sock, I realized I was going to run light on yarn. So I did a contrast little heel cuff and just a little stripe of the main color just to tie it in. I think that looks great. But quickly realized as I was working my way up the foot of the second sock that I was going to run out of yarn. So I knew I had this scrap. This is a Knit Picks Stroll Tonal that I knit a pair of socks for my son last year. I knit him a pair of Sliptastic socks. I couldn't find it. I'm digging through. I've got a few different bags and bins of little bits of leftovers, kind of less than 20 grams kind of thing. Couldn't find them anywhere. And I thought I was going to have to reach out to Sophie, Cozy Meadow Knits. She just bought 2 skeins of Ravish from Ginger Snap. I saw that on her last podcast. I thought, well, worst case scenario, if I can't find anything in my stash that'll work to kind of finish this off, because it's just me wearing them around the house. They're not a gift, so it didn't have to match, but I didn't want it to be green. You know what I mean? I didn't want it to be blue. It needed to be kind of this dark, rich, winey purple color to tie in just a little bit. So I almost messaged Sophie and said, can I have 5 grams of your brand new skeins of Ravish that you haven't even cast on yet? And I saw her yesterday and she said, oh my God, I totally would have done that for you because she's so sweet. Of course she would. And she is as sweet in person as you see on the podcast. She's just a delightful human being. Anyway, crisis averted. I did find this scrap of, I can't even remember what this was called, but it's an old deep stash Knit Picks Stroll Tonal. And yes, it definitely is darker. You can see the transition, but I think I managed to get it quite clean. I managed to do all of the increases to here with the main color, the original Ravish that I had. And then when I started doing the heel turn, I was able to incorporate the new color and just one stripe around the front with the same contrast with a stripe. So you can definitely see that something has gone awry, but I think it was a pretty good save. And I don't regret anything. It was a really enjoyable knit. I've got a beautiful pair of little shorties I can wear around the house when I need something warm on my feet. And all of this is out of my stash. So that's a win-win. Go Fret Socks by, I can't remember, I'm sorry, the name. Everything will have been on the screen and linked below. Last finished object. Oh, fibbing. Last finished object, kind of. This is also a finished pair of socks. But we'll talk about these more in design chat. This is my Dune Grass socks pattern that is coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, August 1st. It may be a little later in the day because of the washing machine shenanigans, but it will be out tomorrow, August 1st. Anyway, this is my newest design. It's toe up with this fun tuck stitch design. There is a pair. I'm going to not talk about them anymore, and I will show you the rest of the details in design chat. So if you're not interested, you can just skip on by. And this is also actually ginger snap yarn. This is their Lush 2-ply again in the speckled sage colorway, and it's delightful. It's got these fun little pops of gold and darker greens, and it's perfect for the dune grass. I'll put a picture in, just a quickie, of the dune grass yesterday at the beach. I went to Bucktouche, to the dunes yesterday to take some pictures. Okay. Whips. I have a few new ones because I finished so many things, so I will show you an existing one first before we get into the new stuff. The sample cowl, the shift cowl that I'm knitting for Deborah of Yarn Indulgences, it will be a booth sample for her. I'm knitting in 2 colors of fingering instead of 3 colors of sport. So all of my notes, modifications will be in the description box. I haven't done too many, quite honestly. I have just gone down a needle size and I'm knitting the pattern to pattern, except where you have color ABC in the pattern, I just have color AB. So basically I'm just flipping back and forth, back and forth. I'm using 2 colors from Yarn Indulgences. This is the Merino Cashmere Silk base. I think it's called, sorry, can't remember. And the Sock Marl in the colorway Pamela. So this was just a nice coral tonal. And we thought these colors looked great together. You have seen this before if you've been around, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. This is housed in my beautiful bag from Michelle's Creations that I got at the Fiddlehead Fiber Festival back in April. So I have made great progress on this shift cowl. Just going to give you a quick look. So I am ready to do the final set of decreases to be able to block it and sew it together. I wanted Deborah to have a look at it yesterday to make sure it was big enough, because I have done it on fingering, but I did measure and the dimensions look good. So this is the way it's worn. This is the top corner and it gets sewed, seamed up the back. So it will be something like this. So we decided the size was good. I'm going to finish off the pattern, give it a light block, seam it, and if you were at any shows where Deborah is vending, she is at Fiber Spirit in August, and then we have Gagetown here in New Brunswick, Tatamagouche in New Brunswick. There is Woolstock in Ontario, and there will be the PEI Fiber Festival. I'm looking off into the distance trying to fire my brain up. You will see this there. And she will have lots of color combinations made up, or you can make your own color combination, which is always fun. Deborah is the color expert and is great at putting all these colors together. So that will be finished next time you see it. The only garment I have on the needles right now is not for me, it is for my daughter. Samantha was here for the car show. Last time I was speaking to you had been just after the big car show in Moncton, and Sam and Archie had come down for a visit and to spend some time seeing the cars and for a quick visit with friends and with us. And if you remember, after my salty air tea, I had 3 balls left of the Sadness Garn. This is the Tin Lena. So this is I had 3 balls left of this for my salty air tea, and I said to her, this would be perfect for you for a little tank or a summer top. You know, what would you like? What would you know? So we talked about options, and she decided something tank top, sleeveless, but with wide enough straps that she can wear it without having to wear a cardigan or a jacket over, so that it's office appropriate. Her office, she's allowed to wear sleeveless, but bra straps cannot be visible. So this was something that we were kind of looking at. So we looked at a whole bunch of different options. I feel like I showed you these last time. Did I show you these last time? I think I might have. I'll cut that story short then. I'd looked at a few different designs, so has she, and she ended up picking Wreath by Libby Johnson of Truly Myrtle. You know I love her patterns. So I have cast on. It's got a nice, this is the front here with the V-neck and a nice round neck in the back. I haven't picked up the sleeve stitches or the neck stitches yet. I'm waiting until I finish this ball. We're getting down there. And so once I finish this ball, I will stop, do the neck pickup and the sleeve pickup, and then I'll remeasure for length, because I find when you do that sometimes it pulls the garment up when you kind of cinch all this stuff in. So I want to do that. I have a bit of a deadline on this. Did something just bite me? I'm in a screen room. I have an itch all of a sudden on my ankle. I'm going to try and ignore it. Samantha is coming up this weekend this week on Thursday. She has a wedding to go to out of town. She's dropping Archie to us because her fiance is away on a course. He's in the military. And then fiance's parents are arriving on Saturday into Moncton, so we get to meet the future outlaws for the first time, which will be fantastic. But short story, very long as usual with me. Samantha will be here on the weekend. Today is Monday. She'll be here Thursday, gone Friday, back Saturday, possibly leaving Saturday night, maybe Sunday. So my goal is to get this finished before she leaves to go home. That way she's still got some summer to wear this. So I have split for the sleeves, working down the body, and I've started adding this textured broken rib. Eek, I just pulled stitches off the needle. Of course I did. Hang on one sec. Because why would I be using the cute stitch stoppers I have on my craft room desk? Why would I do that? Okay, let me just try this again. So at the bottom of the pattern, there's a broken rib, 3x1 broken rib, and I'll have put a picture up with Libby wearing hers. Ironically, this is almost the same color as Libby's. Anyway, I've modified this because Samantha is quite short-waisted, so I have done less here, and I've moved the texture panel up a little bit. She wants it quite cropped to be able to wear with dresses or high-waisted pants and skirts for the office. So we're shooting for an 11.5 inch, so not super cropped, but 11.5 inches is what we measured at the car show 3 weekends ago. We whipped out the measuring tape and I took some fresh measurements of her. But we're going to, yeah. So I probably have about another 1.5 to 2 inches of this texture panel to do before the final ribbing. That may even get done in this yarn. Yeah, we'll see where it's at, but this is at the forefront of my knitting this week. I'd like to get this finished for her so she can take it and, like I said, still be able to get some wear out of it this summer. But it would also look super cute under a denim jacket and a cardigan to be able a layering piece for the fall and the spring. And that's living in my Eldenwood Craft lovely sheet bag that my Salty Air Tea was living in, just because the yarn and the interchangeable needle set was already in there, so why not leave it all in there. That's the only garment, but we'll talk about, I have plans. The other thing I popped on the needles, we had a car show last weekend. Today's Monday, so last weekend, the weekend before. And I'll have some footage for you at the end of some of my favorite cars and views from the day. I didn't really have anything that was in a good spot that was going to be good for me to take with me, that I could just chat and knit and be up and down and socialize and all the other things that happen. It's a smaller show, that one. I think there were 200 and something cars, which is lovely. We found a nice shady spot, and we just took the one car. We took the Thunderbird, and I knitted. Brad wandered around. We bonded around together. We chatted. We had a picnic lunch. It was lovely. But I needed something easy. So in my nerd alert Doctor Who bag, is anybody else a Doctor Who fan and really excited for the David Tennant and Donna episodes that are coming before we transition to the new Doctor? Me. I think Tennant is my favorite Doctor. Anyway, this is a bag from Area 51 back before she was dyeing yarn and she was making bags. And this pin came from, I don't know where. I think it was part of a giveaway years ago. Anyway, it's just got some navy blue fabric. I love this little bag. It's perfect for a little sock project, and who doesn't love a TARDIS? So I grabbed my leftovers of Mind the Gap, the London Underground sock yarn that I knit myself a pair of. I'll put a picture in here. And I divided it, I was smart, I divided it into 2 equally weighted balls, started from the toe up and worked my way up. Did the ribbing in the patterned yarn as well, and then I'll just, once I get the second one done, I'll figure out where the heel placement's going to be, what color I want to use for the heel, and I'll pop an Afterthought heel in there with the little mini gusset, short row mini gusset. I'm going to digress just a second. Short row mini gusset on an Afterthought heel. Ooh, I hope that's not making a lot of noise for you, but it's delightful for me. I got an email this week from Talvi Knits. I'll put her name on the screen. I'm signed up to her e-newsletter for articles to her blog. She did a blog about short row gussets on Afterthought heels and 2 different methods to do it, which is the best, and all kinds of links. So I have talked about practicing with this technique. I have never seen it before. I know it's out there. Of course it is. There's nothing new in this world, in this knitting world. I just had never seen it before, so I was experimenting with putting short row gussets in the corner of the Afterthought heel to give you more room for your heel. Of course, I didn't bring a sock out here with me. If I've got a good picture of something, I'll put something in here. But basically, I've been building a little triangle into the corner of the Afterthought heel to make the heel deeper, because I have a very high instep and a wide, the diagonal measurement from my heel, the top of the foot to the heel, is quite deep. I'm digressing all over the place. That email/blog link, I'm going to link down below. If anybody's interested in tweaking your Afterthought heel by putting in a little short row gusset, check out this article. There's tons of information and links and instructions how to do it. Yay, I don't have to write it up. It is out there, of course it is. But I will be using that technique because my daughter has similar shaped feet to me. So this is going to be a cute little shorty with a contrast heel in there somewhere. One is done. Oh, I just did a little slip stitch pattern. So when the color changed, I just did a slip one, knit one across the front. I didn't bother changing it across the back when I knew after the heel point, because I didn't have it marked. So it's just plain vanilla up the back with this little knit one, slip one transition stitch up the front. And I think it's cute. It was what I could do when I was out in public and still talk. But again, not vanilla, so I don't lose the will to live. So sock 1. Sock 2 has a little more worked on it than when I first recorded yesterday, because I was knitting this when we were out looking at washing machines this morning when my husband was driving me around. So I have my little Union Jack Progress Keeper that came from Owls on Dante, which was a company my friend Leanne ran on Etsy, but she doesn't do it anymore. But I got this cute little Union Jack Progress Keeper, which felt appropriate for my Mind the Gap socks. And oh my goodness, sorry, I'm gonna just gush a second. I'm in England in a month from now. Moving on. So these are going to be sisters, not twins. There was no way I was going to color match this with the 46 grams of yarn that I had left. I think 46. So I just divided it into two balls, and that will be a cute pair of Mind the Gap socks for Samantha. I'll probably try to hold them for Christmas, but maybe not. Her birthday is next weekend, the 13th, and they're going to be back up with the Outlaws to do some around Moncton, Bay of Fundy region kind of touristing things. So we'll see. If I get them done and I feel inspired, I might give them to her for her birthday. I don't have anything else for her birthday. Does anybody else struggle? What do you get your grown kids for presents when they're in their 20s and 30s? My husband is of the thing, he's like, nothing. They're old enough, they don't get anything. I just feel like a little something. You know, they're both making their own money, and anyway. Thoughts, anybody? What do you get your grown kids? The other pair of socks I have on the needles is another one from 52 Weeks of Socks. This is using two, again, this is in my wine themed bag. Sip happens. Love the wine you're with. Love and wine get better with time. Lots of fun sayings that I had to have. So I am using I've got some, it's a hot pink themed. This is hand spun that I dyed. My friend Deborah Yarn Indulgences, a couple of years ago, we had a dye day. We got together and dyed some fiber. It's a superwash merino nylon blend, which is perfect for socks. I've knit my friend Amanda Sweet Skein of mine a pair of socks in this hot pink, because if you watch Amanda, you know she is a pink lover. But this is pinks and kind of grays and goes up into burgundy colors even. And I'm using as a contrast color a scrap from, I can't remember the dyer. I don't think they're dyeing anymore, but it's showing up perfectly. It's kind of this beautiful turquoisey, tealy color with pops of the purples and hot pinks. I knit a pair of socks in this yarn. And yeah, I thought they looked fantastic together. So, as well as I was supposed to say, I seem to be in a toe-up sock mood. My dune grass socks were toe-up. I'm knitting that pair of scrappy underground socks for my daughter, and they are toe-up as well. Yes, something did bite me. I'm now scratching my leg I'm scratching my ankle on the leg of the chair. If you picture Baloo in Jungle Book, oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Toe-up socks. This pattern is from 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. Again, I forget the designer. I'll put a picture here and the name here. The name of the sock is Ipsitas. So it's a toe-up sock, and we've got some twisted stitch, slip stitch action happening here, but all the fun happens after the heel. You'll have seen there's a fun color work. So it's looking, I said, kind of got this marl vibe going on with the hand spun. And after the heel turn, the second color gets introduced. The pattern has them in contrast colors, I think. I think I will probably do both of them in the hot pink with just the contrast of this. I think I would wear them more often if I did them that way. But we'll see. we'll see where the mood takes me when I get done the first sock. So these are on the needles, and we'll probably be finished. Next time I podcast in 3 weeks will be right before I go to England and Scotland, so these should be finished. Next new cast on, I had mentioned last time that Selma from Little Big Knits is running a Nordic knit something from a Nordic designer. And I was talking about having the colorwork bug, but I wasn't sure if I was quite ready to knit a colorwork sweater right now, just with the weather we've been having, and it's summertime and I just don't want to be knitting anything. I just don't want to be knitting anything that big right now that isn't plant fiber. So in my lovely hand-woven handmade bag from Instagram friend What Viv Does. Vivian is a very talented maker in Amherst, Nova Scotia. I mentioned her last time. If you're a spinner, you should definitely follow her. She's inspiring up the wazoo. I dragged out again some very deep stash. This is an old DK base from Deborah at Yarn Indulgences. It has tiny little specks of, I think the color broke, which is why it ended up in my stash. But it's a lovely kind of light sagey green with the occasional hint of a light dusty rose pink, which is fine. And I've paired it with another hand spun that I dyed that day with Deborah. This is a really fun kind of evergreen green, kind of gold tones. It bears a little teal every now and again. So this is the 75-25 Superwash Merino Nylon. It's perfect for socks, and it will also be socks. But I thought the combination of these two together was quite lovely. And I am knitting with, I dropped it, with these two yarns. If you were around last summer, you will know I did this last year as well. This is the Every Which Way cowl on Ravelry. I'll have it linked below, and it's just a tube cowl, so it'll be worn like this. There goes one of my stitch stoppers. Just make sure nothing's going awry here. I got these little panda stitch markers. They're Haya, and it feels like they need to be drilled out a little deeper. They don't stay on my needles very well. I don't know if I'm just using it if the needles are too small. But I love pandas, and they're super cute. But the darn things don't stay on my needles very well. I feel like I almost need to get a screwdriver and kind of just see if I can't, as long as I don't poke out the top of their heads. Anywho, Every Which Way cowl is just a simple tube cowl that's worn this way. It's not a sideways, it's a this way. And I think the two colors are working really well together. So this is scratching my color work itch. This is not a Nordic designer, I don't think. I said that yesterday and then still forgot to check. I don't think it's going to be able to go into Selma's cowl, but I just wanted something color work that was small and portable and fun to knit. There's no long floats to catch. If you're looking for a fun, easy first colorwork project, this would be a great one. So I'll have it linked below. Yeah, super fun knit. On my Ravelry page, I tell you I cast on 10 stitches less because I find with superwash yarn, of course, it's going to stretch and then it gets too floppy. So this is 10 stitches less on the cast on, and I am tempted, in between the color work, you can see there's 2 plain knit rounds. I am tempted when I get halfway through, or a little more than halfway through, I'm thinking this would be the bottom, it's a little wider, that I might do a little bit of evenly spaced decreases in this 2 knit row section and bring it down another 10 stitches to make it a little more funnel. And that way I could block it. It would be closer in the neck and a little wider around here, just so it fits nicely around the shoulders a bit more instead of being so scrunched in your neck. I'll let you know if I try to decide to do that. Again, I imagine this will be finished next time I see you in 3 weeks, so I will have all the details then, but it's a thought that's running through my mind. I made 3 or 4 of them last year, gifted all of them. And they're great, but for me, they feel quite loose and floppy, which, depending on how you're wearing this cowl, if it's just a layering piece in the house to keep chill off your neck, then it's fine. But if you want to wear it with a coat, I don't know. I'm playing with it. I'll let you know next time I see you. The last work in progress that is kind of and not really. Hang on, I'm fetched up on a zipper. Ooh. Okay, you belong there. Look, my Chow Goo cord was outside the bag and I thought it was... Okay. Phew. No soldiers down, no needles, no stitches were lost. I was looking for something easy the other night. I didn't have much going on my needles. I'd finished a whole bunch of things and I was looking for something, and it's the end of July and it's time to get on Christmas knitting for my loved ones and friends and employees who love to have knit things. So last year, I had my friend Leanne, who I already mentioned, she lives in St. John, New Brunswick, which is about an hour and a half away, crank me some tubes out of commercial yarn that I had in my stash, just to try and speed up the sock knitting process because of the design and the podcasting and this whole knit life that has sprung up out of you lovely people. Thank you so much. I was finding my Christmas knitting, I was falling behind, so I had her crank me some tubes. So I pulled this one out of my stash, and a contrast. It's kind of a heathered, really light dove gray that I thought would be nice for heels and toes on this. For the cuff, I just ripped back 20 rounds and then knit 1 purl 1 rib, as many rounds as I had yarn. So I will do the same on the second sock. So this was 2 50-gram balls. This is a Regia, Arnie, and Carlos colorway. I have no idea. If I have the tag still, I will link it in the project page. But this will work with this kind of system. So this is waste yarn, this yellow in the center. So this is the end of 1 50-gram skein. And then the second one starts. So I will easily have enough for a pair of shorty socks as well. These might be another pair of slipper socks for me. I might just do a pair of Rose City rollers. When you cut, I'll cut for the Afterthought heel, put that in. I'll measure for the foot, put the toe in, and whatever's left. I think I'll probably just put a quick heel and toe in and let the top roll down and do a Rose City roller. I'm looking at the screen again. I'm so sorry. Cheers. I think it's because it's a different background. I'm seeing the laundry flapping and I'm hearing birds and I'm distracted by what's back behind me. I hope you guys like the background. It feels like a nicer one than my messy old craft room. So yeah, these are on the needles and I'm just kind of going to plonk away at these. These will be for one of my employees who does all the work on the wines in our little craft winery. He loves his hand knit socks every year. So I always make sure he has a pair. That is it for whips. Unless you want to count a swatch as a whip. I swatched for, a little backstory, on Instagram, Unwind Yarn Shop in Newmarket, Ontario. They always post great inspirational customers or employees or themselves who wearing recently finished garments. And this picture popped across my Instagram feed a couple of weeks ago and I went, oh, what is that? The apple green color, of course, totally loved that as well. It's Isabel Kramer, A Hint of Summer. It is a lace weight, light fingering yarn, and it used, one of her samples, she used Holst Coast. I knit A Hint of Summer way back when I was a baby garment knitter and didn't really know what I was doing. I knitted out of 2 singles and striped it. I'll put a picture in here. It's too big for me now. And it's felted all get out because it's 2 single plies, lace weight single plies. Beautiful yarns, but not appropriate for a garment, I don't think. So I went digging for some Holst Coast because I knew I had a cone. And I found it. This is left over from my Trescow that I held with mohair. I'll put a picture in. I knit this last winter into spring. So I have a load of this yarn left, and I was thinking, what am I going to do with it? Dug through my stash, pulled apart bins and cubbies, couldn't find it, dug a little deeper, found it, and then knit a swatch. So if you're not familiar with Holst, it's a Danish yarn line. I used to buy quite a bit of it when the Canadian dollar didn't suck, because you buy from them in American dollars, and then with shipping, etc. I just found it was getting price prohibitive for the quality of the yarn. I wasn't sure. I've done stuff with Super Soft. I've decided I like the Coast better. It is a merino lamb's wool blend, I believe 50-50. I will correct myself on the bottom if I am not right. But I do have quite a few. I still think I have 3 or 4 sweater quantities of Holst, one in the Super Soft, one in the Tides, which is a silk blend, but it's rough nubby silk, it's not a soft drapey silk, and a couple in Coast as well. Anyway, this is knit with the Holst Coast knit single, which makes a really light drapey fabric. The swatch was knit on 4mm needles. Back to the Holst yarn. It still has spinning yarn in it when it comes from the mill. So when you get it on the cone, it is quite thin. I don't find it oily or smelly, but it blooms when you wash it. And I like to wash it in tepid to lukewarm water. Normally I block in cool, cold water. This I like to block in a little warmer water because I need to get that spinning oil out of this yarn. So Saturday night, I think, we were watching the Formula One qualifying a day late. It was a Formula One weekend in Belgium. We're big F1 fans. And we work Saturdays and we work Fridays, so we didn't get to watch the qualifying. So we try and avoid all social media that has anything to do with Formula One. So Saturday night, we had pizza for dinner and a couple glasses of wine, and it was delightful. And I thought, I'm going to knit this swatch. Perfect, easy, mindless. I don't have to look at it very much, so I can watch the qualifying and not my knitting. The pattern recommends a 4mm needle. And the gauge was 24 stitches over 4 inches in this light fingering to lace weight. You can see the thickness of the yarn a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Now that it's been washed and blocked. So heavy lace weight, light fingering. This, I only got 22 stitches over 4 inches. And I was having a really hard time with the 4mm needles, keeping my tension. My stitch size is all over the place. Hard to see. But I'm not happy with the quality of the knitting that came. So, sorry, scratching. Don't scratch. So I'm going to go down to 375. I probably should swatch again, but I'm not gonna. I'm pretty confident. I've knit Holst Coast before. I'm pretty confident just going down in needle size to 375. That will tighten up my stitches enough to make my stitch quality better and more even, and it will also give me the gauge that I need. So Hint of Summer is a drop shoulder, short sleeved design. As you've seen from the picture, sorry, bird just flew over. As you've seen from the picture, the lady in the picture did a 3/4 length sleeve in that beautiful apple green color. I have also told you numerous times I do not like drop sleeve designs because I feel like SpongeBob SquarePants. It gives me no shaping that I need for the way I am. I think I can integrate Annie UT Knits, the Tank RT, and the Lotus Lake were both drop shoulder designs, but they had a very clever decrease method underneath the arm to bring that drop sleeve in closer to the body. So my plan is I'm going to knit the Hint of Summer scoop neck, nice. I'm going to put 3/4 sleeves on it so it's a nice transitional spring, summer, fall piece. and I'm going to do Anina's shaping underneath, and then I will probably end up doing A-line shaping after that to give me that pear shape neat, like that pear shape that I need. So I'm going to be using the starting numbers for Isabel Kramer's Hint of Summer, but I think the finished object is not going to look very much like it. I will keep you up to date. I ridiculously want to cast that on, but I have so much work to do this week where I worked all of last week. I have got to get the pattern drafted, ready for Ravelry. I've got tutorial to edit and finalize, but all kinds of pattern stuff in the background, plus editing and uploading. This podcast is going to take a little bit of time, and I've got to get my daughter's reef tank finished before she visits this weekend. I don't have to. I want to finish it. I also desperately want to cast on a new garment for me. But I'm going to be a grown-up and do all the grown-up things first, and then hopefully, maybe by Wednesday, probably not, I will cast on Hint of Summer soon. The other thing that's on my radar for a new cast on, I'm bringing you back to the shift cowl. I'm going to be finishing this shift cowl off, and there is still a ton of yarn left. And I had a fun yarn shop visit with some friends yesterday, and we were talking about the pressed flowers pattern, how there is a pressed flowers everything. I was like, is there a sweater? Yes, there is. There's a cardigan, a sweater, a shawl, a cowl, new socks that just came out, and a hat. So I am going to use these leftovers to knit a pressed flowers hat. It is also in sport weight yarn, like the shift cowl, but I see no reason why I can't adjust my needle size, perhaps adjust the size of the hat that I need to knit. But it's just a sample for the booth, but I need to take really good notes, so when we are talking about this sample in Deborah's Yarn Indulgences booth or online, I have accurate data as to what my gauge was. So I keep waffling as to whether I'm going to knit a gauge swatch, because I think, well, it's just a hat. If the gauge isn't right, I can just rip it out. But I think just for the fact that I need the data to make sure that Deborah and I both have that information for support, I need to knit a swatch with this in the for the pressed flowers hat. I will definitely be going down a needle size, and I'll see what my gauge is, and we'll go from there. But this will be cast on and perhaps finished, depending on how addictive it is, by the next time I see you in 3 weeks. So today's the 31st. So 3 weeks is going to take me the week that I'm leaving for England. So that weekend. So I'll be recording. My next video will be wrapping up some of this stuff, and what I'm taking is travel knitting. Spoiler alert, I think it's going to be all socks. Just because I'm going to be keeping my baggage quite light so I can bring home a ridiculous amount of yarn from England and Scotland. Okay, so we talked about the mini gusset, and the blog will be linked down there for Afterthought Heels. I have to be accountable. That cream bamboo cardigan, I showed you last time that I was going to edit. I was going to sew in binding and try to suck things together, and I have not touched it, and I told you to give me hell if I didn't touch it, but I've had a crazy week work run that I just didn't have time, plus it was Tour de Fleece. I was trying to keep up my spinning content. It's my crafting, I'll do what I want, I guess, fundamentally, but I still do want to fix that bamboo cardigan. But I have to say, sadly, I do not think it's going to be this before I go to England, because we've got another staff member off, and that's going to cause ripple effects through my schedule as well. Summertime for me, owning a small business, is covering off my employees' vacations, which I am more than happy to do because they cover my vacation time off, and I'm taking a substantial 2.5 weeks to go to the UK late August, early September. So we just adjust our schedule as we need to, but I just cannot see that bamboo cardigan getting its fix this year. So it is what it is. I will get back to it. I do want the garments enough, and I will keep you updated as and when it comes back into any kind of life, and hopefully back in my wardrobe. There's my accountability. I'm going to dip into design chat and some knitting, the last of knitting before I go into spinning. So we're going to do a little chapter here on design chat. So we're going to talk about my dune grass socks again in a little more detail. As I said, this pattern will be releasing Tuesday, August 1st. The first 7 days of this pattern's release. I just chose the charity a couple of days ago. It just kind of, I don't know why. I'm reading a book about domestic violence and it just kind of triggered something in my memory. I've supported this charity before. It's a local charity here in Moncton, New Brunswick called Crossroads for Women. And I'm just going to read their mission statement. Helping women and children transition from crisis to empowerment by providing safe housing, counseling, and educational support. On their website, they talk about how to leave a dangerous situation without a trace. There's hints and tips. It's a brilliant local service. It's sad that it has to be used, but all of the first 7 to 8, sometimes I forget to turn to shut it down, and I like to add as much as I can. The first 7 to 8 days proceeds from this dune grass sock pattern will be donated to Crossroads for Women in Moncton, New Brunswick. I'll put their website linked below if you want to make sure they're legit and, you know, find out any more about them if you're interested. But know that I am thrilled to be donating whatever amount I make from these socks to that charity. Back to the socks. I'm just going to put one down. I've got one. I'm going to show you my shameful secret. Blocked and not woven in. I discovered that yesterday when I was at La Violette Yarn Gift and Go. I'll talk about that more in chatter. I went to show the sock and it was like, oh! I'll put this one down. I've outed myself and show you this lovely one. So this is using, as I said, Ginger Snap Lush 2-ply fingering in their speckled sage. I don't know if they have any in their shop right now, but they will have, and if you're interested, message them. When I posted my sneak peeks on Instagram, they sold out of this sock yarn very quickly, which just makes my heart so happy that I'm where it's 2 women-run small local businesses supporting each other, and I'm thrilled that that was the case. Back to the sock. Distractions. Rounded toe running up into this tuck stitch pattern that looks like the grass on the dunes at Bucktush, New Brunswick, my favorite place. I got to go there twice in the last 2 weeks. I was there yesterday to take some pictures and some video to show you guys all how lovely it is. So this little seed head, the reason this is being worked toe up, if I didn't work it toe up, that little seed head would be pointing to the ground, and that bothered me. So we are toe up. This is a little fun little tuck stitch combo. There's a video tutorial linked in the pattern that shows you how to do this. It's super easy to do. It's also written and charted. So we're running that up the leg. We're doing this. The pattern includes a gusset German short row with a heel flap. You can insert any heel that you prefer. If you like a shadow wrap, a fish lips kiss, an afterthought. Some of my testers have used the pattern as written for the heel. Some of them have inserted their favorite heel because these are socks we wear on our feet. We have our own preferences. I love a heel flap and gusset because of my aforementioned wide foot, high instepped, big distance diagonal from the fold of my foot down to the heel. So, and then we run up the leg. On the back, I've put a simple little rib detail just to keep it exciting on the back. If you want, you could put those tuck stitches in there. I just thought I'd give us all a break and leave it the plain ribbing, but feel free if you'd like to put those tuck stitches in there. And then the ribbing is adjusted to work with the pattern, which I think is super fun. So I've got a mix of 2x1 and 1x1 rib on the cuff just for the design just to flow right into it, and I love that finish. So yes, that's Design Chat. Dune Grass Socks, August 1st on Ravelry. I'll be spamming you terribly on Instagram. I apologize in advance, but not really. My test knitters have all done a beautiful job. Some of them are still finishing up, so I'll be showing you tester patterns on Instagram, tester socks through the week. I'll be showing you some beautiful scenery from Boctouche. I'm going to put a little bit at the end of the video as well to show you what it was like when we were there yesterday. It was glorious. And that is it for the hard knitting content. We're going to move into spinning. And I'm starting to get a bit warm again. Hopefully I don't grossly sweat like I did yesterday. Spinning. Tour de Fleece ran July 1st to July 23rd. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what I did. I think I showed you this last time on the wheel. This was an acidy green to medium tone green to light blue to tealy blue gradient. It had no tag on it. I know I bought it in Truro, Nova Scotia in 2019, I think 2018 or 2019. I spun this on my electric eel wheel 6 with the big bobbins, and then I chain plied it back on itself, so it is a 3-ply. One of my goals for Tour de Fleece, I don't chain ply very often. I like the effect, but I'm just gonna get a little closer here and show you this yarn. It's lovely, I do like it. The problem for me with chain plying is, if you've ever seen chain plying, it's a crochet. You're crocheting with your yarn, you're pulling it through a loop and then spinning 3 plies together. Where that loop and the working yarn come together, I get bumps, I get bumpy transitions, and now washing it definitely helps. I'm just trying to see if I can find one. This is going to be my usual chain ply thickness, which is a Sport DK. It varies a little bit. Actually, it's looking really good on the screen. But there are some little nubby bits in there which I'm less happy with, but overall, this was a fun spin. It's nice and poofy. I haven't measured my meterage yardage yet, but it has been washed and the twist has been set. So that is my only completed spin for Tour de Fleece. Next, I was showing you the ridiculous rainbow bat from last episode. It's been in my stash since last fall. I was super intimidated by it, but my Tour de Fleece goal was to tackle it and get into it. I have spun up 1/2 and I'm well done on the second half. You can see on the bobbin end, you're missing the red, the burgundy tones. You can only see the orange. So underneath the orange is kind of a burgundy red tone. Then it goes into greens and blues and out to the purple. So this is what I'm hoping is a half. I've learned some things, and I wish I had done some things differently when I stripped out the colors. So I decided to divide the bat in half. So I ended up with the rainbow color and then the rainbow color, and it met in the middle. So I split it right in the middle, and then I stripped out each color. So I'll put a picture in here. You can see the half of the full bat and all of the little bundles that I'd stripped out. At that point, I should have stopped. I should have stripped out the second half, made the little bundles, and weighed them all, and made sure I had equal amounts of red to orange, orange to green, green to blue. You know what I mean. I have a feeling, looking at my second bobbin that I'm already spinning, this one feels smaller. The color transitions feel like there's less. I was hoping for this spin, I'm going to 2-ply the 2 bobbins together. I was hoping there was going to be not too much barber poling. I was hoping for more color on color and a more cohesive. I love a good barber pole, but this was my challenge I set for myself, and I think I screwed it up. I think the second bobbin is going to have longer color transition runs. So then I have to decide, am I just going to let it go, or am I going to rip out some of the singles on the second bobbin that has too much to try and keep this more cohesive? Undecided, not sure. But this is my bobbin shot of the rainbow bat. I may be putting some pictures in here as we're talking. Before I was ready to tackle the rainbow bat, I had finished my gradient, and I needed just a quick spin because I wasn't ready to tackle that rainbow yet. I can't remember if it was a work day. As I said, Tour de Fleece ran the July 1st to 23rd. I spun every single day. That was another goal I had. I didn't want to miss a day. So I grabbed some fiber from my stash. This is Deborah Yarn Indulgences again. This is her superwash merino nylon that I love to knit I love to spin because it's beautifully silky and smooth. I also love to knit it up in socks, but as you've also seen, it's great in cowls. I have dreams of this one day perhaps being in a yoke a la spin cycle. So this is one bobbin. I have another full bobbin and I'm working on the third. This will be a 3-ply. I'm spinning the singles on my electric eel wheel nano. Just give you, it's beautiful, kind of really dark greens to sprucey greens to light greens, grays. Well, friends, in all the knitting shenanigans, you won't know this, but this is Editing Nancy coming back because I forgot to do the gift away. I'm going to slide this in somewhere and transition. I'll put it in the chapters and the notes, but this is after I had finished recording podcasting and realized I hadn't refreshed and looked at all of my notes, and I forgot to do the gift away that we talked about. So if you remember Lotus Lake, I was wearing this beautiful tee last time I was here, with that fantastic lace drop shoulder with that great decrease action, a little cuff, round neck. I'll put some pictures in here as well. This is a pattern designed by Anina, Annie UT Knits. She has a podcast on YouTube and a Ravelry shop with designs. I'll link all of those things down below. She very kindly offered us another coupon code, so I did a giveaway on Instagram for one of these patterns, and I'm now going to do one here on YouTube, but we're going to call it a gift away. That seemed to keep the Instagram bots and spammers away from my Instagram account. I apologize. I feel like I should need to hunch down. My tripod is on completely different settings. So in order to win a copy of this pattern, Lotus Lake, lovely pictures will have been on screen. Please use the comment lake in any way you would like. You can just say, "Hi Nancy, lake," or you can use "tell me what you're doing at the lake," or a favorite lake you've been to. I don't care. It doesn't have to be creative. I would just, if you use the word lake, then I can use the random comment picker on YouTube to pick, make sure that somebody is interested in receiving the pattern actually gets it. So Lotus Lake Tee. Beautiful. I've worn this so many times already in the last few weeks. It's rapidly become my favorite summer knit. So use the word lake. I'll put it on the screen and I will do a draw for that before I podcast next time. And I will gift you, and Nina actually will gift you a copy of this pattern. I will leave you to the next section, whatever that is. Well, that has never happened before. My phone cut me off. I had run out of storage space, I do believe. So I've deleted some things off my phone. So I apologize if there was a rough transition. I think I was just finishing up the spinning chat anyway. Goals are to finish that rainbow bat, spin and ply, and the little green gray. I took everything inside so my little bobbin, sorry about that. So spinning goals, keep spinning. Hopefully you'll see some finished spinning projects next time I am here. So that is it for the fibery content. The rest is just chit chat. So we'll call this the chat section at the end. Because there is no shopping, I have 0 acquisitions. With the trip coming up in a few weeks and 2 yarn shows, I was very good and made no purchases, even though I was very tempted a couple of times, especially yesterday. We'll get to that. If you weren't here last time, I will be, I'm going on vacation to England and Scotland to visit family and just do some vacationing with my husband, Brad. And I will be at the Southern Wool Show in Newbury on Saturday, September 2nd, and I will also be at the Scottish Yarn Festival in Perth on Saturday, September 9th. The Scottish Yarn Festival was a last minute. It was not a planned edition. I'd only planned on going to one yarn show, but the opportunity became available and we were going to be there that weekend, so why not? If you are going to be at either of those shows, please let me know down below and say hello. Also looking for any husband friendly activities that are close within walking distance from the train station, bus station to entertain my husband, because I have no husband daycare for either event. He's very patient and quite happy to sit on his phone and play games and read news articles and whatever. So even a nice pub would be a great suggestion. So what I've been up to, other than working and knitting and pattern writing and stuff like that, is I got to go out to Bouctouche yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday, so Manon had very kindly asked me to be a guest on her podcast. La Violette Yarn Gift & Co. has a YouTube channel, which we linked below. Most of the videos are things I wish I had known when I started knitting, or tips and tricks, great little information on different techniques, projects that Manon's working on, and suggestions. So I recommend checking that out. But yesterday was a chit chat about my yarny journey. And it was a lot of fun. Deborah from Yarn Indulgences came with me because we had other plans. So she took a little behind the scenes picture, and I'll post that here. And yeah, we chatted. I wish I'd known. Manon had a list of questions on a piece of paper attached to her iPod. I wish I had had a look at them before we started, because my responses were completely off the cuff, which she said is what she wanted. But my main moment of panic was when she turned the video to record. I'd forgotten to ask where her camera was, so I was kind of doing this thing, looking around, trying to figure out where her camera was, and it's actually right where mine is as well, so I shouldn't have worried. But anyway, it was just one of those moment things that flashed across my brain within the first 30 seconds of her hitting record. So that was really fun. Then Deborah and I went out to the Bouctouche Dunes to take some video and photos to support the dune grass sock patterns. It was a beautiful puffy cloud, blue sky, no humidity, light breeze. It was just picture perfect day. If you stick around to the end, I will insert some videos and pictures that I took at Bouctouche yesterday. Then we went back to La Violette to hang out. Sophie from Cozy Meadow Knits came, and Gab Knits was visiting from Ottawa. Gabrielle is originally from Cocan, which is just outside of Moncton, Bouctouche area. So we all met up and had a little knit together and a chit chat. And they were shopping for yarn for the Field Sweater by Camilla Vad. Anybody else got that on their radar? I do. I'm hoping to do it just in DK, not fingering and mohair together, but both Gabby and Sophie were shopping the Sadness Garn wall, looking for Sunday and mohair, silk mohair combos, and they came up with some great ones. And I was so tempted, but as I said, I'm not buying yarn right now because I know the stash haul from Europe is going to be epically horrific, and I don't know where I'm going to put it in my yarn room. Then yes, we left, had a beautiful drive home. Deborah went home. I came in and decided I was going to record a podcast, which went terribly. I can't remember if I mentioned this at the beginning or not. I was feeling very rushed. And then I ended up having the most epic hot flash. I was in the house, and it wasn't that hot yesterday, so I know it was me, not the environment. And see what I mean about this V-neck? I'm not sure. I think it needs to be a little lower. Digressional. So I decided to come out and record this, but then our washing machine failed, blah, 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 blah. So that really is all the fun things that have happened. We're looking forward to, it's a long weekend coming up this weekend. Our store closes on that Saturday, so I've got an extra long weekend. We're going to have visitors, and a car show, hopefully. So more knitting in public. I don't think I have anything else to say. There's a lot of ums coming into play now. As I said, I'll put some video footage at the end of anything that we have gotten up to that I've forgotten. But I think it really is just the car show and going out to Bouctouche. Delightful. If you're ever in this area, I highly recommend it. That is it. I wish I could wish you happy sipping and have my last slurp of wine, but with all of the shenanigans with my camera telling me it was full, I had to finish this wine. So I'm going to say thank you so much for being here, listening to my ramblings, and having a good old visit with me. I hope you did and got some fun knitting. If you're going to be at either of those yarn shows in Newbury or Perth, please let me know and give me any suggestions on things to do for the husband. And I will see you in 3 weeks before I'm ready to go. I'll be super excited by then. Until then, friends, happy knitting, happy sipping. Cheers.